We've been thinking a lot about the importance of conversation and the ways in which conversation and connection can take us really into a deeper realm, and how important it is that as we connect with one another in Dave Hasbury is in a moment going to talk to us about the World Cafe guidelines. And I'm actually thinking that when getting ready for today, I picked up again Margaret Wheatley's book, Turning to One Another. And she talks there about the practice of conversation. And in it, she talks about how important it is in the process of just conversation with one another, that we really are acknowledging one another as equals, that we try and stay really curious about one another. I love the idea that she describes of we need to recognize that we actually need each other's help to be better listeners, that we need to be able to slow down so we've got time to think, and to appreciate that conversation is the natural way we humans think together, and that we ought to expect that it's going to be messy at times. And there's a bit of etiquette to this World Cafe process, which is all about an art of hosting practice of conversation. With gratitude to you, Dave, even before we have the check-in.
So we need to make sure that we're making space for each other. We're facilitating, making it easy for each of us to share and contribute our thinking. And space to actually focus on what matters, to speak with our minds and our heart. It's a time to listen, to understand, to listen together for patterns and insights and deep connections, and to begin to imagine and make connections between what we hear. And really, it's also a time for us to have some fun, to have a piece of paper in front of us, a tablet or whatever that we can doodle and draw on, make room for laughter, and actually just slow the pace down so that we're all actually able to be with each other. So all of this is a part of what guides us in these conversations. And Linda, you wanted to say something about the netiquette.
So it's really fun to see what the World Cafe community is doing with this process. And they've not only thought about this cafe etiquette, but they've thought about cafe netiquette, as in internet. And there are several ideas there that we wanted to share. One of them is the idea of picking up something from your desk that you can use as a talking piece. So when you're in the small group, look, the choice here was either this wine opener or the miniature cowboy boot. Okay, well, there could be this gift box. Pick up something. You're going to pick it up, and in the small group, one of you will, I'm Linda, you're visibly picking up the talking stick, you're sharing in response to the question, and then you're putting the talking piece, you'll say, I'm putting the talking piece back in the center, which enables somebody else to pick it up and know when the person is complete in their thought and contribution. And the other idea, I have to laugh. It's great to have you here, Jesse. I was reminded after the first World Cafe we tried virtually, when you sent me notes after the fact saying, so I did some scribing. And I thought, right, the scribe role. Somebody in the small group volunteers to scribe, and that is, as I've come to appreciate it, not taking notes about what every single person had to say, but just as if we were sitting at a table together and it was covered with a piece of paper, you're doodling with keywords and images, things that you hear. And if you're a scribe, on behalf of that particular table that you're meeting with, you're going to hit the high points. You're going to try and do a little bit of summary of the things that bubbled up that you heard. You don't have to take tight notes. And we've discovered that it is actually easier if you make your notes on a Word document, or if you opened an email and you typed them there, and then you can cut and paste those notes and put them in the chat when we all gather back together again. Right? That's one of the things that I found works. If you type them in the chat in your small group, it is sometimes a little bit more challenging to get it out of there, to copy it, to put it back, to share. So we'd love to invite people to try that in the first round. Jess, am I forgetting anything in the netiquette aspect of this? Okay. As Dave said, have fun, lean in, stay curious. And the question for the check-in, we'd actually like you to share your name, where you're from, and share something that you've read or watched or listened to recently that has moved you. Might not be a huge shift. It could be just that it's moved you, but something that's touched you in some way. And so let's check in. Let me just see. Patty and I are sharing the opportunity to do the breakout thing. And I just want to make sure I've caught everybody. Okay. All right. We've got 15 minutes for this check-in. Enjoy one another. And yeah, we'll see you back in 15 minutes. You will just be transported, and you'll have 60 seconds when the room closes. I guess from that standpoint, it's really helpful to make sure that you make space. It's self-managed. Make sure everyone's got an opportunity to speak, and watch the time. There's a little counter on the top. So we've got 15 minutes. Thanks, everybody.
Getting back. So welcome back. And what we would like to do is to invite people who kind of took on a scribing role for your group to begin to put some notes into the chat. And as we start to get that, in a little while, we'll just a minute or so, we'll ask for people who want to say something about what the experience was like in the conversation, getting the chance to actually chat with people. So if you want to kind of just share what that experience was like and what kind of insights or connections or whatever else seemed to be happening for her, we'd love to hear someone share what you were thinking. Oh, there you go. Susan, you're going to click on there. You go.
One of the things that was common for us all is there were certain things that were very inspirational to us, whether it be poetry, whether it be books that they've read or podcasts. And so they were able to share those links. And I think it'll be in the chat, or Linda will have them anyway for us. And also, the feeling of for a couple of people that they can't keep doing what they've always been doing because they don't love it, and that they left their job and they're looking, really from my perspective, into their soul to really see what they would love, and money is not necessarily the issue. So I thought that was very beautiful, and I'm sure I've missed a lot. So if there's anybody else in our group that wants to say something, please do.
Great. Thanks, Susan.
we've put Untamed on Amy Price's list now because it came up as an intersection. All right, how many people have read this book, heard about it, listened to it?
I have.
Outstanding.
This is less about the content, which was really compelling, but I really experienced, like, everyone built on each other's sharing, which to me shows just really careful listening. And I really loved that. That felt like real conversation, not just an exercise. And all of the members of the group just built on one another. And I really value that. It was very authentic and very moving in and of itself.
Great experience. Sounds good. Thank you.
Want me to read a couple of the comments?
Yeah, that would be great, Patty.
Okay, Brene Brown got a nod for unlocking us and Dare to Lead podcasts. And Krista Tippett's on Being also got a nod. Some people, the Stargazer group, was Zoom zombied. They talked about value, being valued, setting things on fire, happy days, being connected, among other things.
Great.
I'll take that and remind people when you come into a group that it will be really helpful if you figure out who'll take the high level scribing notes. Just if someone will be a scribe, and that would be great. And we'd like in this round to take up the question in the conversation about what's the key challenge or crossroads you're facing right now, and making space for people to be able to explore that. It may be that there are questions that you're facing in your work at this point, or you find yourself at a crossroads or at a point of thinking about what's the question, the key challenge or question you're up against right now. So it's the key challenge or question or the crossroads that you're facing, that you're carrying right now, and making space for everyone to be able to share that in the conversation. And we've got 20 minutes for this conversation. What we're hoping is that people, Susanna, you beautifully touched on the idea of the way in which people can hold space and really deeply listening to one another, and appreciating that it's, and Susanna, I think it was really you who first actually even introduced me to Heather Plett's writing, a woman who really writes beautifully about holding space. And we want to hold it with one another without any judgment. And it isn't a matter of offering advice, but of just bearing witness and affirmations as we hear one another share. So we'll have we've got, Patty, we've got 20 minutes for this question, right?
Yes, that's what I have. And if you're ready, I'll hit the button and hopefully all will go well.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope that 15 minutes, 20 minutes that you had really felt like it stretched and transcended time and possibly dimensions with the level of conversation that you had. Taking a cue from our first round and what Dave had invited you all to do, I would welcome scribes and anyone who feels like they're called to share something to drop some notes in the chat so we can get a sense of the patterns that have been emerging, or the uniqueness or newness of your conversations, and the special sauce that was you in that small little group. I would also invite anyone who'd love to share about what that experience was like for you, to unmute yourselves and just step into our little virtual circle and share back.
Happy to share a little bit from ours. I think one of the things that a couple different things came up of like putting things out there, and are people going to take you up on that offering, even though you think it may be worthwhile for their time? That was a theme. Another one, it was around what are the scripts that people have told us our entire lives, or we've been, and then we start telling ourselves, and how do we realize that we're not those scripts, and that we can we can do, oh, I have a visitor, that we can change those things. And so one of the things I mentioned about is like doing art and being told I'm not good at art, but like, I was doodling during it. I'm like, I can't do art.
Mommy, I helped you.
Thank you, love. I'm going to mute myself.
Thanks, Amy. It reminds me of this saying of ants, which is automatic negative thoughts. And these youth that I work with out of Winnipeg, they say, shake off those ants. Anyone else like to share? Just hop off mute and step right in. Zoom is such a special place, because I feel like in a physical space, we don't have the option to mute ourselves. But in Zoom, sometimes that's our default position. So I'll encourage you to take that step or take that leap, and just to hear from one other voice, I think would be really nice. And then we can maybe pull some of the comments out of the chat, which look really rich, actually.
I wasn't the recorder, but there were a number of people in our group that were connected to the educational system. And we all agreed that, at least in the States and Canada, and perhaps Germany as well, that what they are learning or what they're being taught is not what they need for when they graduate. And that they were hoping that with this time, with the pandemic, so that we can we could think, so that everybody else will understand that this needs to shift, and this is good shifting, but it doesn't seem as though people are listening. So that's one of the frustrations. And I would say that's the same theme through other things as well. Like what are you doing with long-term care facilities? What are you doing with the community? And it seems as though people are getting tired of hearing anything different. So that's a bit disappointing, but it's something that we have to hold on to as being who we are, and just keep sharing what we believe.
Thanks, Susan. I was reading Sandra's comments in the chat there, and that really connected, I think, to what you're saying. And Sandra writes, bring people back into the community, get the agenda out there. An exciting time of opportunities. The pandemic is a place of reflection. This is the piece I think that really connects to what you were sharing, is how do I want things to look? Inequalities are heightened, having conversations with as many people as I can, taking action steps, supervisor series, vulnerability and authenticity, give space, spark ideas. So a real dance, I think, with the letting go of what we're used to, and making space for what's new. Lynn shared that our group found commonality in holding space for new things to happen, and remembering that new things can't always happen when we hold on to the old. Also really relatable to what everyone was saying before that. And Angie spoke to Penny's wise words. I'd love to know what Penny said. It's okay to be in the phase you are in. Maybe these are them. It is okay to be in the phase you are in, not judge yourself or others on what they can contribute or participate in. And Susanna Joyce shared the Woods group, shared the scribing. I love that. Challenges were being puzzled that free help wasn't being taken, that the balance of work and being an OM are hard, that we are non-productive right now and worried about it, that we should fake it till we make it. That is a good time, that it is a good time to revisit scripts we have about ourselves and find new narratives.
That word that I mistyped, Jessica, was a mother, balance of work and being a mother.
Like an OM, I'm not sure what that. Thanks. And Amy shared that they talked about the balance between work and parenting. The balance is not easy. And Penny shared that just before the webinar, I was remarking that COVID and Zoom seem to be encouraging a movement away from the head office to a home or in the community and in our group. Someone said she is moving from service to everyday things, especially if people are too tired. And then Linda shares with us a resource from Maria Shriver's Sunday paper, The Lies That Were Told. And you can check that out or email at info@mariashriver.com. I think we're ready to hop into the next round of conversation. Mm-hmm. And we're switching this one up because some of the hosting team actually is going to join you in the calls. And so there'll be a few extra groups there, and I'm personally excited to dig into this question. And so I'm hopefully gonna, well, I thought I copied, oh yes, I did it, awesome. This is like that moment of transparency of, did I copy and paste the question or not?
I got it here, Jess.
You got it? All right. Yeah. So the question that we're going to spend, how many minutes? 20 minutes on is thinking about that crossroads and the choices and the decisions and the steps and the movement that you might make, or that sort of new possible that folks were talking to in their breakout group. What makes it possible for you to take a step and move in a new direction? So the readiness that you might need to do, the supports that you might need to have, the permission that you might need to give yourself. What makes it possible for you to take a step and move in a new direction? So we'll have 20 minutes and Patty's gonna drop us into some groups in a few moments here.
All right.
We are so eager to hear. We invite into the harvest scribes or folks, however you invented scribing, which apparently there's a group that did co-scribing, which is all great. But if we can invite scribes, you were thinking about what makes it possible for you to take a step and move in a new direction. Love to hear from people in the chat. And also to just, we're very fortunate in being able to kind of hold this space with this group. And we'd like to invite folks who would share into the whole. Something that struck you. Maybe it's something you said, maybe it's something that somebody else said. What bubbled up?
I could share something. I've enjoyed in these conversations that feeling of kind of shared experience, that many of you have shared thoughts and things that, you know, while the pandemic has been very difficult on many of us, there's so much growth and opportunity. We have to give ourselves some grace for maybe needing a little bit of Netflix, or, you know, maybe giving up on that exercise habit or what have you. But the reflection and the ability to see, you know, that we want to be people that re-enter knowing what we want out of our lives, and that we've had some, you know, intellectual and emotional growth through this experience. And I really do think that I appreciate hearing all of your stories and seeing that others are trying to figure out how to you know, grow and create environments around themselves, whether it's our new home offices or it's a different type of work environment, or even in the relationships we have with our friends and family. But it's great to see that there are so many ways to mark the challenge of the times that we're in, but also to find ways that we can celebrate the successes that we're having and forgive ourselves the indulgence we may need occasionally. And I enjoy that I feel community within the groups of people I'm talking to, that we have a shared experience.
Thanks very much, Jennifer. I appreciate that. Thinking about the grace and generosity and gentleness with which we need to hold ourselves and one another as we're leaning forward. I was looking at the chat. Angie, the things that were shared: open time and creative thinking to look for new possibilities, and adding new habits and routines, looking for new opportunities to make changes occurred, especially knowing yourself and what brings value to you. Amy, yeah, thanks. What doesn't serve you well? Trying to avoid getting pulled into the negative things and instead of the things that feed your heart. I opened up an article this morning that talked about 5 things not to do, and I do all of them. What? Okay. I thought, and they're changeable. Well, and actually the people's comments and reflections really take us to this next round, which I'm just gonna post because I think it's the next natural conversation, which is, what are the practices that keep you grounded, and how do you hold on to your moral compass? What keeps you centered as you make movement? And want to invite people to think about that. And we've got, Patty, I'm looking at the time.
I have it set for 15. Do you want me to make it a little shorter?
Yes, but just by a little, you know, I don't do the math really well.
I did 12.
12. That's it. 12. That's it. She's using all of her fingers. Okay. Yeah. So sharing with one another practices. The groups are a little bit bigger this time. Just to
all right.
Livening the conversation. Thanks.
I'm hitting the button.
Hello. I think we're all on mute. I think we automatically go on mute.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi again, Suzanne. Hello, Colin.
Hi
again. Hi again, Angie.
2 days in a row, becoming a habit.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, Angie.
Hello. Well, I missed the third question. I saw what practices keep you grounded? How do you hold on to your moral compass? And then I missed that last. Does anyone know the last question? Or does it matter?
That's good.
That's
It'll pop up soon.
I'm sure.
Usually it pops up at the top. But those are good.
Anyone have anything that kind of jumped right into your mind?
I meditate anyway, and I try to do that for about 15 minutes before I get up. I have cats, so a routine I can't ignore is feeding them. I am a Facebook junkie, and I proudly declare that. It's funny because I think another time, Jack, you were talking about photographs and stuff, and I mentioned I'm in a daily photo prompt Facebook group.
Right.
And no matter what else I do during the day, I always have my photo ready to share. And it's just one of those little things that helps me feel connected to people quickly and easily. So I look forward to that every day, and I look forward to seeing what other people have posted on the same thing. And then the other thing that helps me, well, things like this and other. Last night I watched a virtual lecture on Tom Thompson, that the director of the Michael Gallery gave. So lots of learning and sharing learning. But then I try every maybe, like, if it's 3 or 4 times a week, to have some kind of Zoom or telephone call with people. So I can't visit them out in a park right now. So those are the things that, there's other things too, but those are regulars. And it's just a lot about feeling connected, for sure.
Hello, hello. We're so eager to hear. This could be like all skate. You probably had scribes, but we'd love to hear what practices bubbled up in the conversations. What was emergent there? Let us know in the chat. And it'd be great to have somebody kind of lean in, unmute, and talk about what you noticed in the conversation that you just had.
I'll share. Our group, we had a common theme of exercise, and that is an important part of many of our practices. Some of us enjoy it more than others, and the motivation to do so is also a challenge. But it was a common trend we had in our group, recognizing the need for it, and some of us are trying harder in that practice.
Yes, it makes me think about, did anybody feel that there was a practice they just heard about that made them think, let me learn some more about that? I'm just noticing chair yoga in the chat. That could be my kind of yoga. Yes? Anne?
I heard from Chaz, which I really appreciated, to really be mindful about shutting down your computer and don't open it up again once you're out coming back from a walk, because it's so easy to do. Because it's like an endless flowing into work and private life and enjoyment, that the computer always sits there and it's like this hot potato. So I appreciate her sharing that, and I want to be more mindful about that, just to let it go, let it be closed, and step into your life after work.
Well, that is so interesting. It was also one of the things that was in the practices I read this morning that said if you start opening up and reading news on your phone before you've done anything else, you've got someone else's agenda, many other agendas filling your head before you've settled your own intention for the day. And I thought, well, yes.
I was actually interested, Linda, in what the 5 things were, so maybe you could put that in the chat later on, because it sounded like you said they're all doable. So
they were really quite comical. I will look that up. Yes. Spending time in nature, creating rituals, routines. We just heard about shutting down the workspace. Okay, Jess, 2D hellscape?
I love that.
Leaving it, I see. Yeah.
It was definitely a quote from our group that I liked and resonated with, from Colleen.
Noting your physical body and space, finding it, why isn't it present, bringing back into the partnership of body and mind. Yeah. Well, thanks. Well, thank you for those. Thanks very much for leaning into this conversation, these conversations. And Jack, I think, makes sense to turn to you to talk both a little bit about what's next and move into closing for the day. And we would invite people as well to post just a closing word in the chat, one final harvest. And if I don't get my 5 things in there, I'll send them when I send the Google survey. We'd love to get your feedback, and I'll post that in the chat, and we'll send it right after the close of the
Not
session.
uncommon. Just a quick reminder that we are continuing virtual events, and the next Toronto Summer Institute virtual event will be an Ideas That Matter session on March 11th. And we have 3 featured guests, or 3.5, I guess, depending on how you count. Carol Blessing from Cornell, and who's the leader and founder of Citizen Centered Leadership there, is going to be thinking about what she's been learning over a decade of work in that program. And Jess Bolduc, who is on this program, who is the energy and the force behind 4Rs, an Indigenous youth movement in Canada, is going to be leading some thinking, and title to be negotiated, but on personal practices and how we can begin. A nice follow on from today. And Gail Jacobs, who is one, I think, of, I don't know, decades of leadership in options in Michigan, a remarkable agency that has invented full lives for people. She and Randy Wilkins are going to be talking about their work through the perspective of the life of Darwin Ness, who just passed a couple of weeks ago at age 90. And if you want to get a crash course in what life can look like after 47 years in a lockup, you got to hear the Darwin Ness story. And no one can tell it better than Gail and Randy. Randy was his roommate and partner for 30 odd years. So, you know, some remarkable. Anyway, there will be a wonderful day of a couple of hours of exploration, and then hopefully some follow-up sessions from that. And to end, well, you can enter your closing words in the chat. We have a song for you that you'll recognize, and it fits the day.
This song says, no matter who you are, no matter where you go in your life, at some point you're going to need somebody to stand by you. Oh yeah, oh my darling, stand by me. No matter who you are, no matter where you go in life, you gonna need somebody to stand by you. No matter how much money you got, all the friends you got, you gonna need somebody to stand by you. When the night has come and the land is dark and that moon is the only light we see. Though I won't be afraid, though I won't shed one tear, just as long as your people come and stand by me. And darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by. Come on, stand by me. Yeah. Oh, when that sky that we look upon
Thanks again, all.